Hello, I'm Theolyn Cortens. Welcome to SoulSchool and welcome to another Signs and Wonders video in the series about the Archangels. This is the third in the series of 8. And I began with Sandalphon and then we moved towards Oriel because they're a couple. And you can go back to those if you haven't watched them already, because it will be really useful to watch them in sequence. So in the first video and in all subsequent videos, I want to remind you of the Tree of Life, and in particular the lower section of the Tree of Life, where there are a series of sephirot, of containers of light energy, sometimes called gates of light, and there are a series of 7, although one of the sephira has 2 archangels, Sandalphon and Oriel, I've already covered. So as you rise up on the Tree of Life from the kingdom, which I sometimes call the place or the homeland, as you move up from there, exploring the higher realms of the Tree of Life, the next archangel you will meet is Gabriel. Now, Gabriel is a very, very well-known archangel. Let me read the little poem, as I always do, from my book, Working with Archangels. And this poem is by a Christian author called Richard Crashaw. And this is what he says. Heaven's golden-winged herald, late he saw to a poor Galilean virgin sent. How low the bright youth bowed, and with what awe immortal flowers to her fair hand present. So here we have the Christian story of Gabriel arriving for Mary's Annunciation, the announcement that she will have the Christ child, that will be her son. And that's probably the most famous of all the Gabriel stories. And he is seen as messenger par excellence. I mean, every angel, malach in Hebrew, is a messenger. But Gabriel's very particular kind of messenger, bringing the word of God, it's sometimes said, and the word made flesh is Jesus. The word that is recited as the Quran is delivered to the Prophet Muhammad by Gabriel. And when we go further back into the story, Daniel is a prophet at the end of the Hebrew Bible who has encounters with Gabriel, and Gabriel translates or interprets Daniel's dreams. So every time we come across Gabriel, it's got something to do with interpretation and words. But when we go even further back, there is an old legend that Gabriel is involved in assisting souls moving from earthly life into heaven. And especially, he is mentioned in an old story about the death of Moses, where he is one of the archangels, along with Michael, who prepares a wonderful couch for Moses. The story is quite sweet, actually, because Moses is not very keen to leave the planet. He doesn't want to leave his earthly life. And God does him a favour and makes the sun slow down, so he's got a bit more time. But eventually, Moses has to go, and Gabriel is one of his assistants. And in that case, with the Moses death, Gabriel is acting as what we call psychopompus, and that is a being that helps people transit from one realm to another. So a psychopompus helps a soul leave its earthly life, and move onwards. So here we have Gabriel associated with words, interpretation of dreams, the delivery of very special poetry in the form of Quran, and also with the transition between life and death. And all those attributes mean that he's an archetype very similar to Hermes, Mercury, in the Greek-Roman pantheon of archetypes, but also Thoth in the Egyptian series of gods. Thoth is the god of writing. So Gabriel, as Mercury, is a key player in how we understand the messages from heaven. So look again at the tree of life and see it as if you were coming down from the top. You know, something was being delivered from heaven. Before it arrives in the homeland, in the kingdom, it's got to pass through that Sephirot. Sephira is the singular, Sephirot is plural. The Sephira that Gabriel is guarding is the one that is the last place of residence for the energy before it arrives in the kingdom. So can you see how Gabriel will be a channeler from the top to the bottom, but could also act as an opening and a portal from the bottom upwards. So this capacity to use words, to use language, to understand mystical dreams and visions is a key archetype in every culture. And in the Jewish mystical tradition, this archetype is Gabriel. So think of Gabriel as a mercurial character who can help you understand and help you bring through the words that you need. And not always words, it can be music or other forms of art that allow you personally to understand what's going on in the deeper realms of your consciousness. This is why the idea of morning pages or journaling is so helpful to people on any kind of psychological or spiritual journey for self-understanding. And you could say that Gabriel is the god or the archangel of journaling, because there's this process whereby you allow something to write itself through you. You just hold the pen and you start writing, and you don't think too much. You just allow it to come through, and it can be very surprising. And anyone who gives themselves the time for creative writing, as it's called, or even personal psychological journaling, you know, where you just allow the thoughts of your experiences to tumble out of you through the written word onto the paper. If you experience that, you'll understand how powerful it is, and how sometimes you can even feel that something else is speaking through you. And in a way, it isn't something else. It is part of your being. So Gabriel, and that quality that Gabriel carries, is what can allow you to understand what is going on at the deeper reaches of your psyche. he becomes the conduit for your guardian angel to speak to you. And as you write or draw, or even perhaps sing or move, all those mercurial, moving, flowing processes can release stuff inside you that you didn't even know was there. And when I channeled messages for the angel script, I just allowed images and characters in the alphabet, the mystical alphabet called the writing of the angels. I just allowed those to speak to me. And I would sit and I would just write really, really, really quickly without any rational or logical interference. And it became a flowing process that just spilled over from a deeper part of my mind. And I wasn't writing on paper, I was using a computer keyboard, but that actually meant that I could work really quickly. So it can be a very fast delivery. I think Gabriel is very quick and very surprising and points you in the right direction. And so Gabriel can promote those things happening in your own mind and delve deep for you. Because almost like you can say to Gabriel, bring out what I need to know. And here I am with my pen and I'll start writing. Or here I am with my keyboard and I'll start writing. Or you can say to Gabriel, bring me to a book that I need. Bring me to the wisdom that somebody else has written that will resonate with where I'm at the present time and will give me the inspiration or the knowledge or the wisdom to understand what's going on at a deep level. Because what Gabriel does in all these stories is he brings out something that's very deeply embedded. It's already there, waiting. It just needs to be brought to the surface. And so when you work with Gabriel, you're likely to come across books, or you might come across images or some other signal of some kind, signs and wonders. And those signs may be something very, very simple. Might be something in a newspaper or a magazine or something that you see on the ground as you're walking along. That's a Gabriel moment because it's signaling to you something from deep within and bringing it to your attention through another medium. So pay attention to the stories about Gabriel. I've been using the word he because that's often how Gabriel is described, but some people do call Gabriel she. And when we look at the Tree of Life model, Gabriel is on the central pillar of equilibrium. So this archangel is actually on the crossover between male and female, if you like, masculine, feminine, yin and yang, whatever. So there's a combo there, a kind of androgynous quality to Gabriel. And he's able, or it is able, if you like, to stand in the center and say, it can go this way or that way, whichever way it needs to go in order to balance things. That's what we can do here. We can rebalance from this point. So have a good look at the Tree of Life and visualize yourself standing in the bottom, at the bottom Sephira with Oriel and Sandalphon, and say, yes, Next up, here I am, moon and earth. Next up, who is my messenger that will bring me what I need to know from the higher realms? And it's Mercury. Mercury was the messenger god for the sun. Astronomically, Mercury is very close to the sun. And so at that point, Mercury, Gabriel, Hermes, Thoth, whatever name you like to use for that archetype, it can belong to you in your inner kingdom and can act for you, or you can interact with it, he, she, whatever. Yeah, so think deeply about Gabriel's role. Is it very easy to just say, oh, well, we know all about Gabriel because he's so well known. But there are depths to what Gabriel does, very, very deep. Research can happen with Gabriel. A psychopompus takes you from the earthly realms, from the daylight, into the lower realms of existence, into the darkness, into the shades. You know, it's Hermes who crosses into the darker realms, into the underworld, to discover things that can be brought up again. And that was the thing that the old mystics would do. They would go into a cave or a crater, you know, like literally a physical, geographical crater, and they would create a situation for themselves of what they called incubation, so that they could go totally inwards to discover some true wisdom within them. That's what Gabriel can do. So although he's light and airy, he is also deep and mysterious. And getting to know Gabriel is more of a challenge than you might suspect. So find out more about Gabriel in my book, Working with Archangels, or in the Angel Script, or even better, enroll on my course, Accessing Angelic Realms. Keep exploring. It's your kingdom, your homeland, your place, whatever word you like to use for it. It's within you. And it's yours to explore. It's yours to discover all the riches and the treasures that the archangels, the archetypes, can offer you. Many blessings. Keep shining.